The Washington Commanders aren't just betting on Jayden Daniels to bounce back. They're building a tougher, nastier, more dangerous team around him. And if that fire turns real, the entire NFL is going to feel it.
So, Coach, I'm a Chicago guy, and I absolutely loved this year that Ben Johnson, he's like, I don't like Matt LaFleur. And like Bears and Packers, they should not like each other. I think that less hate in the world, more hate in sports. I call it sports hate. You're in the NFC East.
That's fair, Danny. That's fair. Yeah, I would say that if we could channel it to a certain spot against rivals, that would be cool.
Right. Well, so you're in the NFC East. Great rivalries. You and the Eagles kind of going back and forth. They're running up the score, going for two late. Like, do you subscribe to that in terms of sports hate in the NFC East and being a part of that?
I don't know if it's sport hate, but I grew up in the East Coast. And so for me, kind of growing up, into this spot, I like guys that have one another's back. So if you take on me, you get all of us. And so I like that attitude. And so none of us want this, like we're ejections and fights, but I do want to know if it was late in a dark alley, I'd want somebody like Willie Colon right with me to say, hey, if this is going to go sideways, I want people, in my corner that are ready to get down. So I think as much as it's not one team, it's us against. And if you have that mentality and the chemistry's right, it doesn't have to be against one opponent. It just has to be, this is how we get down. And I'm hopeful that that style can come across and that when you play the Commanders on Monday, like you're sore. And Willie was a part of a team like that you played some of the teams that he was a part of. So, okay, it's going to be a real deal.
Yeah. We got some meetings in there. I'll just go take the microphone. Excuse me, guys.
I don't even know if it'll be a big thing, so we'll see.
We'll see. All right, take this anywhere you want to go. Biggest difference between the 2026 Commanders and the 2025 Commanders will be what?
Resilience. I would say like the 24 team had won a lot of close games, was in it, and the 25 team punched in our mouth and didn't respond the way that we'd hoped we would. So I would say the biggest thing that you will see, there's a lot of really good competitors on our team. And so those moments at the end of the quarter, the end of the half, I think that you'll see, one resilient group, like absolutely ready to grow, obviously led by Jaden, but like I think that's what you'll see from our team.
Resilience, is that coaching? Is that scouting? Is that bringing the right leaders in?
I think it is all encompassing because there's an element of just pure relentless competitor to that, to say when you had the setback, you found your way, you dug through it. And so for us in 25, a lot of that was due to injury, to say, okay, but you find a way, you dig through it, like everybody has those. And so that piece of the resilience to me, that relentless competing in those moments, I think that's what I'm very much looking forward to seeing.
We talked in this August in training camp, and obviously expectations were huge. Jaden gets injured, gets off track. Everything flows from there, and that's the story of the season. There's so many things, obviously, that can go wrong over the course of the season, but quarterback health is pretty close to the top as far as problems that can arise. What is your message to him when you sit down and say, hey, we're going to attack 2026? Obviously, health being a big part of it, but then just growing and taking certain leaps. Like, what are you telling him to work on?
Yeah, so at the end, and there's a new system for him as well.
Yeah.
Where we'll be under center more. That part of our offense will have some variation, but for him, he's got exceptional ability to create. On the run. So some of those ones can they extend pass to pass, and so he's an exceptional runner. But the explosive plays will come outside the pocket, remaining a passer. So that would be one of the ones for us.
What will being under center more do with them?
I think there's more run action that comes with it. And because of the accuracy of him as a passer, when you have some of these big play pass shots that come from a big run action, with his arm strength, he'll be able to really push the ball down the field. So I think that's one of the good byproducts that come from being under center.
Give me a commander that's going to take a leap this year that maybe we're not talking about, whether it doesn't matter the position, but just a guy where, it's not on NFL Live at 4 p.m. saying this guy's going to have a huge season, but he's going to have a huge season.
All right. I will give you one. The first one that comes to mind, he said that was defensive tackle Johnny Newton. And his first year was injuries, had foot injuries to come in.
Yep.
I think he's a guy that's about to just absolutely take off.
What is it about him that you've seen?
As a defensive tackle, man, is he quick. And so beating somebody to the spot. So I think his ability as an interior rusher, I think he'll be somebody that you'll say, okay, I remember talking to Dan back in, March or April, whatever it was, and said this guy, turned into be a heavy hitter.
All right, we're clipping this. We're
All right,
clipping it. We're
do
going
it.
to show you in February, and
I'm down for
when
that.
Johnny Newton's winning Defensive Player of the Year, we'll be at NFL Honors, and we'll just show this right here, and we'll say DQ saw this all the way.
Yeah,
so
I will be more than glad to be at that point with you.
All right, let's do some rapid fire stuff. Most underrated player you've ever coached in your career?
Man, that's so good because there's like many that would flash through right off the spot. I'm going to go back in some time, and I'll give you a player off the Seattle defense that isn't talked about. But I'm telling you, like when he did his job at the highest level all the time, it was a nose tackle. His name is Brandon Mebane.
Yep.
And part of why defenses are played really well, about the stars and who can do that, and that's Wags and Earl Thomas and Cam and Sherm and KJ Wright and Bennett and others, Cliff Averill. But a guy like Mebane, when you're the unsung player, that's somebody that comes to mind for me that makes others better by doing the hard jobs. And so he would definitely be one.
It always feels like on those great teams, nose tackles get underrated because they're not racking up the sacks.
Yep.
They're not Earl Thomas. They're not picking off passes, or you can't even see it. I remember a game, I don't think you were the DC, but Earl Thomas gets injured. They'll say the secondary doesn't know how to play. Like they never played football before because of what he's able to do. With a defensive tackle, it's more unseen work.
Yes.
Explain what he was able to do to offenses.
I think the ability for the offensive line, like he didn't get singled a lot.
Yeah.
He was somebody who had such power and such leverage that in the combination blocks, man, he was hard to get underneath. And so maybe it allowed the linebackers to scrape faster. Maybe it allowed, those guys who could blitz or, be more aggressive into their gap. So he would be definitely one on the defensive side for me. And I would say the other one would probably be from Atlanta years. He's not underrated, but he definitely impacted our team, would be Alex Mack, a center.
Yes.
So I thought of the lineman because everything elevated when Alex came. Practice, competition, the way and the standard that he played. So I think that's in a different one.
I've been lucky enough to become friends or closer with people who played with Alex Mack. And when like Mitchell Schwartz is a good buddy of mine. I've talked to Joe Thomas. Joe Thomas talked about Alex Mack. It's like they played with Loch Ness Monster. It's like the stories they tell, but the toughness. Finishing, and then he kicked everybody's ass, and you find out he had some knee thing that nobody else would have played through.
Yes,
it's insane.
Yes, he is absolutely built different, and to see him finish plays down the field, but just relentless as a competitor. And so it doesn't show up obviously at offensive line or nose tackle, but those are two that made me think of that.
Big picture here. Biggest scheme change in the last few years that you think is impacting the NFL today?
I would have to say kickoff. And I think it's awesome that field positions changing, starting field position, keeping people pinned down, the big returns that come from it. With as good as some of the offenses and some of the kickers are, if you get one out past the 40, man, you're close.
Yeah.
And so I think it goes to both sides. Can you keep people pinned down if you put it in play? But I think making the touchback out to the 35, that changed the game because people weren't willing. I'll take it at the 30. So out to the 35, the touchbacks went down, the play went up. So I think that alone has changed in the last season. More plays. And I think it's good, really, honestly, for the special teams players.
Yeah.
There were fewer and fewer special teams plays, and now here it goes again.
Absolutely. It's interesting because for a defensive coach, a defensive-minded coach, it's changed the way end-of-game sequences go so much.
Yes.
Because not only do you have the what you're describing with the field position, you also got these guys who hit 65-yarders all the time.
That's
so
right.
It's almost like, the 13 seconds Chiefs-Bills thing a couple of years
Yes.
ago, that seemed like a freak show. Now it happens every single week to some team because of just the way you're able to move the ball down the field quickly.
It does. When is a 2-minute? When does that happen? Keep it in play. So all of those come into it, and you really have to trust this group that's covering to say, hey, we're going to pin these guys down inside, the 30 and not allow them to have the extra 5 or the extra yards to go to it.
Best thing you've learned about DC since you moved there?
Growing up on the East Coast, you always knew it was a heavy hitter fan base, but getting to feel that firsthand, that's been a really cool thing for me. And so getting to be a part of that and to feel the energy of the team, that's something that maybe I don't know if I didn't take it for granted, but like being in it, I didn't know it was as powerful and strong. And so like that lit me up.
It's crazy because I mean, I've talked about this before, but like I remember listening to an old NFL film saying, and Parcells was talking, and he was talking about a Giants Washington game. And he said, "Oh, you know how crazy it gets in Washington." And I'm in my 30s. I don't. Honestly, I don't. Like, you know, he's talking about the 80s when I wasn't watching football. I don't clock that.
Yes.
And I think the older generation gets it, and they also know what can come back when things start rolling like they did in 2024. Can you give me an example of just how powerful it is, or interactions you've had where you just say, "Okay, this fan base is for real, and they're excited again"?
Yeah, I think just in the smallest sense, you felt the energy of what took place in 24 and what's about to come with the club. And then with Josh and the new stadium that's about to come, like there's momentum, man, like the wave's coming. Yeah. And that's a cool feeling to be on that wave, because it's like, here's the momentum, here's where it can go to. And so you feel that from the community and from people around the DMV.
All right. Any level, quarterback that kept you up the most at night when you were game planning for him?
So I probably had the most, like games probably against Drew Brees. He would definitely be one. Currently, I would say Matthew Stafford does.
Everybody says Matthew Stafford. Everybody.
When you play vision defense and he can look at you and throw here, like that's very frustrating. The arm strength, the accuracy, like those are ones. Like obviously Brady as a competitor, clutch. And so, but currently I would say Stafford, like that's the quarterback that can put the ball in the right spots. And so you better have some kind of pass rush going there, because he's tough. He's going to take it and deliver. But I would say, he's the one today.
That is as good an answer as we're every single part. Fred Warner said it a couple of weeks ago. They just can't. When you think you have it with Stafford, and you don't. And that's the frustrating thing. And all the greats, Brady, you think you have him. Peyton, certainly you thought you had him. Right?
And like those guys that you're bringing up, man, when the heat was the most, like they were down for it. Like at the end of the games, the end of those moments, I think guys like that, when they're in those spaces, you don't want to give them a lot of time. You better not make a mistake, and they're going to find it. Yeah.
What was Breeze like to game plan against?
I think just the accuracy, like he throw to the spot. And so against him, it almost felt like he had to disguise so often, because he had such good football acumen. Boom, 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 boom. And so when he got into those rhythms, it was like, okay, how are we going to disrupt this person when it was coming out quickly, going to the right spot? And so, and then obviously he's like talented players with them, but he was exceptional as well, just the accuracy part for me.
Last thing for you, it's on Jaden. I'm interested to see, I think the quarterback journey is such an interesting thing now, because the way the portal works now, there's some guys who come in, and it's increasingly rare. They're 5 stars, they play 3 years in college, and they're picked top 5 in the draft, right? And they're at one school, they don't change offenses. That used to be the thing 15 years ago. And not anymore.
With
Jaden, he transfers schools. Obviously his star rises over the course of a few years. He's an older prospect relative to some of these other guys. It feels like adversity is baked into his story. And I'm curious how you view that and how you view him coming off a year where he was banged up, coming off a down year where he had so many expectations, how you think he's going to manage that.
The previous experience of those does give you a little, light into it. And that's the thing that we know about. This is a remarkable competitor. And so when you go through the challenges and you've hit to that spot, all right, how'd they respond when that took place? And so for him, like that fire that's inside of him, he's not a yeller or screamer to go that, or like his humility is like really strong, where he's not trying to boast it, but like I tell you, like he puts in the work to get ready, like he does that. And so that's what I would expect, from him, to come back with a fire that's going to be like very impressive to see.
Yo, mic check 1 to 2, -1, -2. Game over for this video, folks. Smash that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe to stay in the huddle for more. This is NFL Madness, bringing the heat and signing out.